Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Eleanor and today I have the reading habits tag. I was tagged by Max Reads to do this video, so I'll leave his video down in the description below, and I would highly recommend you watch and subscribe to his channel. And I will also see if I can find out who the originator of this tag was, and I'll link their channel below as well. If I'm looking down a lot, it's because I've got my laptop in front of me for the questions. So the first question is, do you have a specific place at home for reading? And no, I don't. I read it in my living room, I read in my bed, I also do a lot of reading during my lunch breaks at work, so I kind of just read everywhere and anywhere. I don't have a specific like armchair just for reading. I just read wherever I'm comfy and I want to actually read. Question 2 is, do you use bookmarks or random pieces of paper? Now, I use both. I have quite a few bookmarks that I do use, but I also, especially if I'm reading at work, I use like post-it notes all the time to mark a page, or I have receipts in the house, or like old train tickets and things like that. I usually stick to bookmarks, but it's usually just whatever flat paper thing I have handy to mark my page, because I don't like folding over the corners. No shade if you do, but I just don't like folding over the corner pages. I also use sticky notes sometimes as well, because I always use 2 bookmarks for each book, because I, in my bullet journal, keep track of how many pages I read each day. So I have to mark in the book where I started for that day and then where I finished for that day, so I can keep a track of the page count. So I'll always have 2 bookmarks in my books. Question number 3 is, can you stop reading anywhere in the book? And for me, yes. I'm not someone who has to read to the end of the chapter. It's great if I can, but as I said, because I read at work a lot, I'm constantly interrupted by phone calls and other members of staff and things like that, so I can't just stop when I want. I have to stop when I stop. It's usually always at the end of a sentence, and if I can wrangle at the end of a paragraph. But if I'm at home, I usually try and stop at a page break or at the end of a chapter. Question number 4 is, can you eat or drink while reading? I can, but I don't always. As at work, I eat my lunch while reading, but at home I usually just eat and then read. But I usually always have like a glass of water or a cup of tea when I'm reading, but I don't usually sit and eat like a full meal. I just find it quicker to do both individually. Question number 5 is, multitasking, music or TV whilst reading? I can read with nothing going on in the background, but I don't mind some background noise. I quite like listening to music, classical music, or I just put on my favourite album that I know all the words to, so it doesn't distract me too much. I really like matching the music to the type of book I'm reading, and creating like that atmosphere. But again, I don't mind like just background noise. Doesn't bother me too much. I just try and tune everything out while I'm reading. Question number 6, one book at a time or several at once? I don't think I've ever just read one book at a time. I've always got multiple books on the go. At the moment, I'm only reading. I'm technically reading 3 books, but I'm only really reading 1, because the other books I've kind of just put on pause for a wee while. But because I'm doing a specific TBR for October, I'm being a bit more careful just to make sure I read those specific books. But in general, I'm usually reading at least 3 or 4 books at once, and I usually have 2 or 3 on pause for several months before I pick up again, because I'm such a mood reader. I don't force myself to read things that I'm not enjoying or I'm not in the mood for in that moment. Question number 7 is, reading at home or everywhere? I read everywhere. As I say, a lot of my reading I do during my lunch breaks at work. If it's a nice day, I like walking in the park, listening to an audiobook, or going to sit in the park and reading. I read on like public transport. I read when I'm just waiting for things. Yeah, I take every opportunity I can to be reading something, just because it's a favourite hobby of mine, so why wouldn't I do it every chance I get? Question number 8 is, do you read out loud or silently in your head? 95% of the time I'm reading silently into my head, but if there's a particularly like dramatic moment or particularly wordy paragraph and I just like the way it's written, I'll read it out for dramatic effect. Like if there's a character and they're being like particularly like sassy or firm, or they're standing their ground and things like that, like sometimes I'll read out loud, just because I like the words and I like the impact of it. but I only ever do this when I'm by myself. I would never do this in public, never do this at work. This is a solitary, no one ever gets to see this part of my reading because I would be very embarrassed if other people could hear me. I quite like that. It just adds to the effect and I quite enjoy it. I really enjoy reading out loud, but I don't do it when I'm sitting reading because you read out loud slower than you read in your head. Question number 9 is, do you read ahead or skip pages? And I don't ever skip pages. I don't really read ahead either. What I will do is if a book is particularly long and it's like a boring, sloggy part of the book and I'm losing interest, I'll skim read. So I'm still reading it, but I'm not taking my time and I'm reading it word for word. So I'll skim read to kind of get back past those few pages of like the boring bit, just to kind of try and hold my interest, because otherwise I would just put the book down and I wouldn't be as interested in picking it up again. So this is to try and stop me from DNFing books. But I don't skip ahead and I definitely don't read ahead. Sometimes, I don't know, it happens to everyone, you can't help but glance ahead on the page or like skip ahead a paragraph on the page you're reading, especially if it's a particularly dramatic film moment. So sometimes I have to sit with like my hand on the bottom half of the page so I can't like just skip ahead. But that's just usually because of like excitement, like you're at a particularly like dramatic moment or you're about to have a big reveal and I'm too eager to find out what's happening. But it's not usually to like spoil myself by skipping quite far ahead. I hope that made sense. That was a bit all over the place. Question number 10 is, do you break the spine or keep it like new? Now, I take very good care of my books. My books mean a lot to me and I like taking care of them and I like them looking nice. However, I like paperback books and you can't not break the spine when you're reading. I don't try to avoid breaking the spine, but I don't deliberately break the spine. If it happens to break while I'm reading, that's just what happens. I do like collecting secondhand books as well, because it's cheaper, but because I read mostly paperbacks, like I grudge buying hardbacks at all. I don't like reading them because they're massive and heavy and so much more expensive, but most of my books, the spines are broken, especially if they're bigger books. Yeah, like my copy of Dark Matter, like I bought secondhand, so the spine was already broken before I got it. I did buy American Gods without the spine broken, but because it's such a big book, you can't. How annoying would it be to try and read that without breaking the spine? Books are meant to be read and enjoyed. If they weren't to be touched, what would be the fun of that? And the last question, question number 11, is, do you write in your books? And no, I don't. I don't think I've ever written in my books. To annotate things or things like that. If I have any thoughts, I write them down in a wee notebook and I talk about them in my review videos here on YouTube, or they go in my reviews that I write on Goodreads. I'm not a hugely critical reader, like I'm not an English literature student, so I don't feel the need to do that, to hyper analyse and annotate my books. I read to enjoy books, and if I was to do that, that would become a chore and I wouldn't enjoy reading as much, in my opinion. And I like going back and rereading my books. I donate my books to charity shops when I'm not wanting to keep them any longer, and charity shops aren't going to want to take them if they're written all over. So yes, it's not something I've ever done, and I don't think it's something I'm ever going to do. I'm going to tag 2 channels to do this tag too. I hope they haven't done this before. I had a quick look and I didn't think I saw this video on their channel. I'm firstly going to tag Faye at Books and Chocoholic. I'd love to hear her responses to these questions. And I'm also going to tag David at David's Book Reviews because he loves doing tag videos, and again, I don't think he's filmed this one. So yeah, hopefully we'll see videos from them and keep this tag going on. So thank you for watching. Please be sure to leave comments down below. I love having a chat with you guys, and be sure to check out my social media links in the description, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.